Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We got a little 4-game slate tonight on this Tuesday night as we are coming down to the wire here. Most teams have about 10 games left or so. In this one, we're going to take a look at the Hawks headed to New York, taking on the Knicks. A couple of struggling teams, but we do have a couple of best bets in this one for sure. Make sure you check out Nate's great article up on playpicks.com with some best bets and player props in there for you. And make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Got a couple other videos up for you today, including that player props video. Look to continue to stay hot on the week with you guys on that one. And check out thelines.com as well, all the way up until game time. Make sure you're seeing who's in and out of those lineups. And check out that odds checker as well. Make sure you're getting the best bets available from odds makers out there. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to ftpicks.com or dkpicks.com and find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight. Nate, let's jump into it.
Yeah, we got 4 games on tap here. We got the Hawks minus 1.5 at Knicks right now. Total of 226 has actually gone up about a point or 1.5, which we love. We're talking under here. 3 other games to look at. The Warriors, without Steph, of course, are -7 in Orlando. The Bulls are +7 at the Bucks, who will be without Chris Middleton. That total's been bet up from about 230 to 234. And then the Clippers +7 at the Nikola Jokic-led Nuggets. Hawks, Knicks. I mean, both teams playing decent defense right now. The Hawks are not at all playing good offense, certainly not on the road, as they have all season, scoring 7 points per game fewer out there. Now they're 0-6 against the spread. Their last 6 on the road, 5 losses, so 1-5 straight up. They rank 21st in offensive rating, 7th worst defensive rating as well, but playing at the 3rd slowest pace. So, each of those games have gone under. They're only shooting 30% from 3, and it's more about the Knicks turnaround here that they, in their last 8, they're suddenly back to being, pretty much the best defense in the league, at least the most gritty, the most it is a Tom Thibodeau style of play once again. Number 1 in defensive rating, allowing the fewest points per game at 102. Number 1 in 3-point shooting, allowed 30%, allowing 43% from the field, allowing just 20 assists per game. 5 of those 8 have gone under, including the last 2 at home, by a total of 50 points. They're also playing at a very slow pace, around 93. So now both these teams only expected to get about 94, 95 possessions at the most in this game.
Agreed.
They have history of going under of the last 4 of their last 5 regular season. They've all gone under this total of 226, even the one that went over. And the Knicks totals in general are kind of set a little higher now, because they had a streak of going over at home. They 6 straight. So the average total was set at 215 there, and they went over in 6 straight. Now we're up at 226, which is very high for a Knicks game against anybody, especially at the Garden, especially against public enemy number 1 at the Garden, right? Trae Young coming in, not playing very well on the road lately. And his last 2 trips to MSG, averaging 21.5 on 33% field goal shooting, 25% from deep. As you might expect, he's a pretty good barometer for how the Hawks are going to do. Yeah. Averages 6 points per game fewer and shoots 12% worse from 3 when they lose. And again, with the history here, I mean, the last 2 regular season games, the Hawks were really shorthanded. So, of course, they totaled under 200, both of them. But you even look at the playoff matchups, last spring, and we're at the same time of year. It's kind of put up or shut up for the Knicks. 5 games out of the play-in, and the Hawks are the team they could knock out if they can climb up there. So those playoff games, like I'm getting at here, averaged exactly 200 points per game. Again, I don't see how we're getting near 226 here, and I think it plays into the Knicks' hands if we're going to have a knockdown, drag-out game, if Trae Young's not going to get going. So you can parlay that money line with the under with the Knicks there. Get about plus 250 on your money. They're still slight underdogs at home. Actually just became bigger underdogs. Now you can get them at plus 3.5 if you wanted to parlay it that way. But I think the money line and the under makes sense.
Wow. Yeah. I actually didn't see it started out there at 1.5. And yeah, you're right. It's at 3.5 now for the Hawks. I really wanted to pick this game. I think we both did just to go under. But there does seem to be some value as we're looking into what the Knicks are doing right now. You nailed pretty much why, we like this game. It starts with what the Hawks, how bad they've been on offense. John Collins is out, so offensive rating a little bit worse, defensive rating also worse. But it's also just about the fact that they're on the road, and when they're on the road as all season long, we know how much worse they are, and specifically how much worse they are in offense. You see their offensive rating go down by that 7 points per 100 possessions. That's huge. And really, yeah, it's what they've been doing on the road as of late. It's a similar sort of streak that they had a little bit earlier in the season. I think this year they're going to, even if they did start that winning streak like they did in the last 20 games or so of last season after Nate McMillan took over, they don't have enough time now. There's 10 games left for each team. And even if they basically, to guarantee themselves to get in here, they need to win about 65% of their games the rest of the way. I don't see that happening, especially with the amount that they have on the road as of late. So you look at the Knicks as well. It's everything you said. I think, we've had 2 games go under in a row at home for the Knicks. That one against the Trailblazers went over during this homestand for them, but they scored 128 and gave up 98. So it's not like it was the Blazers G League team. We're once again just sort of throwing away any stats for teams that play against the Blazers right now. It's not really the same competition. So looking at the games that actually matter, and those last 2 against the Jazz and the Wizards, those are 2 teams that are playing at a lot choppier, slower, crappier offensive pace on the road right now, similar to what the Hawks are doing. So if the Hawks are going to continue to play at this level on the road, and like 6 over of their last 8 in general have gone under, as their offense has sort of sputtered regardless of where they are as of late. And as you mentioned, it's a large part due to Trey, who was going off, had a ridiculous 35 point per game average over the course of about a 6 game stretch before they started losing to the degree that they are now, especially on the road, as you mentioned, losing 5 of 6 and 0-6 against the spread there. So the Knicks, like you said, what happened when they were going over, they were playing at a much faster pace. First of all, they were playing at the 10th fastest pace over those 6 in a row at home that went over. You mentioned the totals were super low still at about 215.5, 10 points less than it is, 11 points less than it is right now. And everything was just different for them. I mean, their defensive rating went up. They were playing a lot more Kemba Walker. They were not playing RJ Barrett. Actually, if you remember, Kemba Walker was still playing for this team, which meant their offensive rating skyrocketed, or their defensive rating skyrocketed, and their offensive rating stayed about the same. So that helped those overs. And like I said, RJ Barrett was missing a bunch of games. Fournier missed a bunch of games. Alec Burks missed a bunch of games. Nobody played all 6 of those home games that went over in a row for the Knicks, basically. They just had a rotating lineup. Cam Reddish came in and started playing as well. So everything just got kind of shifted for them, and it was all different. They were allowing everything that they were doing was the complete opposite of what it is now in terms of allowing points in the paint, giving up second chance points, allowing teams to score from the fast break. They were in the bottom 10, bottom 7 really in all those key categories that they dominate in when they're playing Tibbs style basketball and playing slightly above 500, which is probably the ceiling for this team when they're playing at their absolute best. So both these teams are bad. I don't really want to pick either of them to win. I would definitely avoid Atlanta. And if I was going to put money on a team, it would be the Knicks at 3.5 now, getting all that love. And this is one where I like this total. I'm just going to hit it, but I might even just consider a nice little teaser, get a bit more juice there, get about even money there, and get this total up to about 231.5, depending where you find it. Get it under that total, and then get the Knicks at about 7.5, 8 points. I don't see them getting blown out by this Hawks team by any means. I think they're more likely to win. If you feel good about it, like you said, might as well smack their money line and that under. But those are the bets either way, no matter how you play this one.
Yeah, usually I'm the one going conservative with the teaser, and Josh is saying, no, just hit the money line, hit the under. I mean, I think the total is way too high. I think you should feel good betting the under, even if it were 4 or 5 points lower than this. Because of how the Knicks play and because of the pace both these teams are playing at. And the Hawks, look, their defense has been good. In their last 12, they're allowing the fewest free throw attempts in the league, also allowing the fourth fewest threes at just 11.2 per game. And the Knicks are scoring very limited down low right now, which is strange. They actually scored 51% of their points off threes in their last loss against Utah. They're scoring the lowest percentage of points off 2-point field goals in their last 3. So they're going to depend on getting to the line or getting threes. And they're going to shut down the 3-point line on the other end. So, I mean, it's hard for an NBA game to go near 230 without people hitting a lot of threes. And neither of these teams seem very well positioned to do that, especially if Bogdanovich is out for the Hawks. Then Trae Young will be seeing so much attention everywhere he goes. Doesn't have John Collins. He doesn't have he might not have Bogdanovich. No Lou Will to lead that second unit. No Cam Reddish, who still hasn't really become a mainstay for the Knicks. But it's just not – there's not a lot of offensive firepower here, not a lot of guys that you can just imagine going off in a game like this, which is between two teams that really hate each other after that playoff series and a Knicks team that seems to have bought in around Tibbs. I don't know if there is some commitment behind closed doors. You know, Tibbs is going to be here next year, and you better prove that you can stick in his rotation, because that's what it seems like these last 8 games, that guys are just like, okay, I better play my ass off, or I'm toast here.
Yeah, Nate, I actually am going to give us a quick pivot here just to let you know, we were looking up, I was just looking up a bit more here to finish off this segment with the Knicks. Julius Randle has been declared out, so he's not playing tonight. That is huge. It doesn't really affect much of what we said, but it does explain why, since we've been talking, that spread has jumped from -1.5 for Atlanta to -3.5 for Atlanta, as Jay Randle, obviously their best player and most crucial player, any way you cut it, is not going to play tonight. So I think that under still hits. It's already gone down 1.5 points since we've been talking as well, from 226.5 to 225. As you mentioned, I was ready to get on here and start talking after you finished your last segment. I was ready to start talking about maybe hitting an alternate underline there as well. Get it at like 221 and feel good about the under and get that up to about plus 200 on your money on DraftKings there with that alternate total. I think you can still probably now just wait for that to drop. If you get to this video, and see this total still above 222, 223 in that frame, I don't think we like this game to go 220 points total, especially without Jay Randle playing as crucial as he is to their offense and that giant usage rate that he has. So I think this is a good opportunity, for the under still, but just definitely wanted to make clear that we know Jay Randle is not playing at this point, which doesn't impact that total positively for how we're saying. Maybe not quite as much for the Knicks' chances anymore with that spread growing, et cetera. So that is all the time we have for this one. This is a great example for why you should stay on thelines.com. Make sure you're checking out who is in and out of those lineups all the way up until tip. And until we see you next, happy betting.